Giving people clean water is some of the most powerful thing we can ever do because it's the #1 killing machine on the earth, bad water. Do you know that 26,000 kids die a day from hunger? Being a fat man dealing with that is really tough sometimes. Because I think about, well, take a mission trip to Africa. They'll look at me and they'll go, huh? Is it an elephant? Wow. You know? Do you know that we don't have to go to Africa to feed hungry people? That the 2nd Congressional District in Philadelphia, which starts here in Chester, is the 2nd hardest, hungriest place in America outside of Brooklyn, New York. That 36.5% of the people in the 2nd Congressional District go to bed hungry every night. Philadelphia, of the 10 largest cities in America, is the poorest. That 1 in 4 children in Philadelphia are in poverty. 1 in 4. Folks, you don't have to go to Africa to minister in a third world country. Walk out your stinking front door! So light. We're going to talk about light. I want you to get beyond the cuteness of this verse. Light at its nature. Making decisions in the dark can lead to some regrettable consequences. Dr. Noel Smith used to say, you got to remember what you have learned in the light, because when you're in the darkness, what you've learned in the light is the only thing that's going to help you see. There's an old story. I have a comedian here sitting in front of me, so I'm going to try to not do jokes, not to offend him. But anyway, back in the days before electricity, there was a tight-fisted old farmer who was taking to task his hired man for carrying and wasting the oil in a lighted lantern when he went to call on his best girl. He said, why, when I went courting, we never took light? And his hired hand turned back to him and said, yeah, look what you got stuck with.
Oh, no.
You know, some people change their ways when they see the light. Others only when they feel the heat. Light removes darkness, prevails the danger, it shows the path. The Word of God says that it is a lamp unto our light and a light to our path, that we might see, that we might know how we should live. But these are the things that are expected from Christian influence in the world. Show blemishes, you know, show the misery that's out there. When you look at something in the dark, oh, it's not so bad. Drive through Chester at night, you won't see anything. Drive through it during the day, and it will scare you to death, and why was I going through there at night? Jesus is the only real light in the world, and John 1:9 says that the true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. We're celebrating Christmas. We're celebrating the light of the world. We're celebrating the birth of He that will set us free. John 8:12, Jesus said, I am the light of the world, and he who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Why is it that I'm constantly, you know, as a pastor, I got some ministry guys in this room, and you'll probably echo some amens. Why do I spend half my time teaching people how to live? I spend half my time being a dad to adults. I say this, and I don't say this jokingly. Before I became a senior lead pastor, I worked with kids. I had all my hair. I had no white. I am now going into my 4th, 5th year of adult ministry. I'm going bald. And I'm scarily becoming to look like Santa Claus with my white hair. Why is it that we as Christians don't live like we have the light? Now, this is a challenge for you. We play with live ammo here. And I want you to ask something. I want you to ask the hard questions when you look in the mirror and say, why am I playing this? Why am I playing this game? If Jesus is real, why aren't you living for him? If Jesus is real, why do you continue to act this way in this little selfish corner of your life? You see, we have the light. If we have the light, it's going to shine into not only all the light out there and illuminate the world, but it's going to show into the dark places of your own personal life. And you're going to sit over there and say, "Whoo, curtain." Or you're going to deal with what's behind the curtain. We are the reflected light. The sun is the source of light, and the moon reflects the light from the sun to the earth. Jesus is our source of light, and we are to reflect that light to others. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, so that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Our buddy Bill Mackey, who didn't come down this morning because of the fear of 12 inches of snow and not being able to get back to Northeast Philadelphia. We talked a little bit about this on the cell phone today. We're people of the book. If we're really people of the book, why aren't we living like people of the book? Ephesians 5:8-9 says that you were formerly in darkness, but now you're in the light of the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the light can consist of all goodness and righteousness and truth. You see, the light will expose that which is not truth. This is why Jesus tells us to follow him. This is why we are told to be holy and why we are told to do his will and to obey his commandments. We are the only Jesus that people will ever see. They'll base their thoughts about Christ by the way we conduct ourselves, by what kind of light we reflect. We saw in the book of Hebrews that we just completed that series on the fact that the only Jesus the world will ever see is you and I. It's not necessarily always the good deeds that we're doing for them that's going to cause them to turn to Christ. It's the fact that they're seeing us doing good deeds to each other, which is a real quandary to most churches, because most churches you walk in, and it's like these little fractional groups, with the little mortar shells going back and forth, and people walk in and say, "Hypocrites, I'm out of here." I had that experience. It caused me to walk away. Your love for one another is going to cause people to want to say, "I want to be a part of that." It's as simple as John 14:5. It says, "If you love me, do what I say." I can put it so boldly. If we understand that we are reflected light, then it helps us to see why we need to conduct ourselves as Christ followers. Philippians 2:12 says, "So then, my beloved, just as you have always obeyed, not as in my own presence, but much more in my absence, work out your salvation with fear and trembling." That ain't talking about your salvation of heaven and standing before Jesus set free. That's talking about the here and now. You and I, and we keep coming back to the buddy system and the whole accountability and the mano a mano, where you're hanging out and you're doing life on life with your believer friends within the church, and they're encouraging you to work out whatever it is that you need to work out in your life to become exactly what God's called you to be. Got to do it.